Hello everyone. This week I'd like to talk about improving service and reputation within a social services agency such as DPSS and the management and leadership styles that help to make that happen. So everyone has heard probably of various stigmas around certain types of social services, or has had an experience or has a notion that there's a perceived lack of trust, unfortunately, at times. And the reality of the social services is not really to that extreme necessarily, but the reality is that there are always ways that we can improve and provide better service to our customers. And we really operate in a complex regulatory environment, and in order to maintain our funding, which is critical, we have to be in a regulatory compliance, and we also in order to improve client satisfaction and outcomes. I think that the principles of transformational values-based leadership are directly applicable to the situation in various ways. And three of the themes that I identified to address the issue of customer service and funding are accountability, motivation, and total quality within the organization. And I think that these areas are very enduring and relate highly to the task of management and leadership. I wanted to start with accountability because it's such an important factor that even though we have a lot of accountability already in the form of our bureaucracy, our documentation, it's something that is ongoing, that you can be accountable or you can be accountable. And we know from the Pendleton Act that we have basically competent people being hired for positions because of civil service reform. But accountability goes beyond basic competence. It goes to, we have a lot of customers that sometimes get the impression that the lights are on but nobody's home and things aren't happening, and when that does happen, it really truly is a shame, and I do everything in my power to prevent that from happening personally. And really it's an organizational wide thing, accountability. We have to work together, and that's where the values approach comes in. And as Allison differentiated between the public and the private in terms of mission and things like accountability from a management perspective, James McGregor Burns is also discussing that when he talks about transformational leadership and really being inspirational and a model of not only behavior but approach and creating self-efficacy through alignment of personal and organizational values between management and staff. All these things are highly important in those small differences when a customer is trying to get an answer or trying to accomplish a certain task and they're not getting the assistance or they're being given the runaround. That's not only ineffective, but that doesn't serve our interests very well. So in order to build on that values-based approach and to continuously improve our commitment to service, we need to go beyond bureaucracy. We need to go beyond scientific management. We need to go beyond the rules of our job description and the consequences when we don't do what our job description says. And we need to get to the individual empowerment and the making the individual feel wanting to get out of bed and come to work and have a commitment to what they do. And that's motivation. And it started with Mary Parker Follett's giving of orders, and she believed that people are better when they have a level of autonomy and an ability to have input and say on what the best way for them to do their job is. And this is something that comes into play a lot with DPSS, in which we're constantly shifting our business practices. We've done everything you can imagine, from switching to more of a non-face-to-face business model, utilizing technology tools, changing the way the flow happens when you come into the office. Are we just checking the customer in? Are we able to copy their documents for them? Are we able to accommodate them in their preferred language? What are the ways that we can address that customer's concerns more comprehensively and really getting the customer to utilize their visit to the office the most efficiently? We need people that really understand that. And we also have Maslow's theory of human motivation, and the self-efficacy is when somebody feels truly fulfilled by what they do, and that has a lot to do with the leadership, communication, and relationships that take place between the workers. Frederick Herzberg's two-factor theory is differentiating between the motivating and hygiene factors of a work environment in which that intrinsic motivation builds by feeling fulfilled by accomplishing something and the achievement of all that. And this is extremely important if you're going to accomplish the goal of really shifting the way the business works. You need to have motivation. Quality and effectiveness, and really also efficiency, are paramount to a social services agency. Efficiency might represent timeliness, as an example. The time it takes for us to process an application, to return a phone call, to make a determination of whether somebody is safe or has something that they need. Very important things going on there. And effectiveness means that we're doing things correctly and we're using best practices. Requires a lot of expertise, but it also requires a lot of basic managerial principles, such as Gulick's POSCORB, planning, organizing, coordinating. Highly important in setting the conditions for business to flow smoothly. Beyond that, though, we have the transformational leadership model, in which an organization such as DPSS, this is really the best way to go about things, because it requires caring and it requires values. And Douglas McGregor's Why theory is compatible with transformational leadership, I feel, because it represents the Follett way of things, in that there's a belief on the part of the manager that he can trust his team, he can believe in his team, and he'll get results based off of that relationship that they build together. I also mentioned Lindblom here, muddling through, because this is a managerial approach to policy and operational changes that sometimes can be a little bit tiring to deal with so many changes, but it's really the best way to fine-tune things or to slightly alter the direction to meet a new requirement or deal with a different population or set of circumstances or other change such as that. In conclusion, I mentioned Selznick's cooptative mechanism because legitimacy is really at the heart of our ability to be effective and to protect our interests. And I mentioned reputation at the beginning, and legitimacy protects our reputation by us being able to not only identify what the needs are, but to serve those needs as a way of sustaining our own self. And all these factors reinforce each other to that end.